But racial flamethrower Stacey Abrams, remember, she never conceded during her own 2018 gubernatorial loss. She is the presumed Democratic nominee. She's also the one who led the charge equating Georgia's voting law to Jim Crow.
I do absolutely agree that it's racist. It is a redux of Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
Well, we have some news for you, Stace. The National Review got its hands on data from the Georgia Secretary of State's office, and as of last week, over 102,000 more black voters have cast early votes in this year's primary elections than in 2018 when you ran the other time. So that's more than 3 times the number who cast early ballots back then. And overall, the state has seen a record turnout for early voting. That's great. Joining us now is Horace Cooper, Project 21 co-chair. Horace, I believe you predicted this fear-mongering, and it's shameless on the part of Stacey Abrams. They throw Jim Crow around like it's nothing.
Well, they absolutely do, and it's costing the state. I mean, remember what the Major League Baseball Association did. You remember all of the attacks that happened that caused people, particularly those of color in the Atlanta area, who had prepared to play their role in providing their services and goods. That was all ripped right out of their hands, and nothing was done. Where's the apology? We were told Jim Eagle was shutting down votes, and what we're seeing is exactly
that is such a great point about Major League Baseball. And Horace, Stacey Abrams spoke tonight, and she tried to spin the record-breaking voter turnout. Watch.
The equivalent of saying that more people voting means there's no suppression, like telling people that if you get in the water, there are no sharks. If more people get in the water, there are fewer sharks. There's no correlation there. Voter suppression is about blocking or impeding certain types of voters from participating in elections. Voter suppression is not about stopping voting.
I have to hand it to her. This is what I have to hand to Stacey Abrams. She just keeps charging on. I mean, there's something kind of admirable about the fact that she can just like, oh, no, it doesn't matter at all. Like, if there were fewer voters, Horace, if there were fewer voters, that would have been better. I'm not even understanding that logic, but maybe I'm not. You know.
She's on point continually. She has an idea. Let's make sure that we do a slur against the people of Georgia and the people of America, and it doesn't matter what the facts end up being. She repeats it over and over again. Now, I came on your program and I explained she lost because in one of the best climates for Democrats in a generation, she went crazy and lost on guns, on taxes, on a lot of the issues that Main Street Georgians cared about. She's doing it again.
Yeah, and I said this before on just a general commentary on the left in the United States as a whole, but it's really hard to govern a country you loathe and a state that you don't much like. Watch.
I'm ready for governor because I know that we have to have a conversation about who we are in this state and what we want for each other and from each other. I am tired of hearing about being the best state in the country to do business when we are the worst state in the country to live.
That should lose her the race just right there. Not that I thought she was going to had a chance anyway. The worst state in the country. But they think that about America. And that's why they like putting all of our efforts in other countries because they think our country is kind of over. I mean, that's kind of what they believe.
The American dream is critical, not just to the mainstream of America, but in particular to black Americans. A lot of folks forget that when Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech, its primary purpose was to demand changes to make it easier for black men in particular to be able to get jobs so they can support their families. When she says that Georgia is a great place to work and a terrible place to live, that's a word salad that I don't understand, but more importantly, most Georgians know getting a good job, being able to provide for your family, that is a place you want to live with you and your family.
And Horace, that crime in Chicago, speaking of other issues, I mean, Lori Lightfoot, how does she have a chance of getting reelected with all of that? Just, you know, Stacey Abrams doesn't want to talk about the crime issue.
Well, no, they don't want to talk about this escalating problem that they created. We have been sending, since Donald Trump left Washington a message. If you're a criminal, it's a free season for you to act. If you want to do something heinous, like what we saw in New York City, it's okay. If you want to continue what's happening in Chicago, there won't be consequences. And if I say something like, let's start having accountability. If you have a plan of a mass destruction effect, I don't care if people die or not, you ought to get the death penalty. That will send the right signal, but the progressives can't accept that.
No. Horace, always great to have you in the studio. Thanks for joining us tonight.